are ready, Madam Mayor.
That clock says we're about 15 seconds out.
10, 9.
We'll go slow. I'll call the October 11th regular Seward City Council meeting to order. Chief, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Tonight's roll call: Casagranda,
Here.
Demas,
Here.
Cease,
Yes.
Olsenga,
Here.
McClure,
Here.
Buckland,
Present.
Mayor Terry.
Yes.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is citizen comments on any subject except those items scheduled for public hearing. We have no public hearings. Has anyone signed in, Madam Clerk?
No, ma'am.
Is there anyone wishing to speak? All right. Next on the agenda is the approval of the agenda and consent agenda, and I'll look for a motion in a second.
I move for the approval of the agenda and the consent agenda.
I second it.
And then if everyone could bring their attention to page 2 of our packet. Is there any changes? Councilmember Casagrande.
I'd like to pull Resolution 2021-117 from the consent agenda.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Buckland?
No, that's all.
Are there any other changes or? Madam Clerk, I think we're ready to call the vote.
Voting on the approval of tonight's agenda and consent agenda: Demas,
Yes.
Buckland,
Yes.
McClure,
Yes.
Casagranda,
Yes.
Cease,
Yes.
Olsenga,
Yes.
Mayor Terry.
Yes.
Your agenda and consent agenda are approved. Approved on your consent agenda, Resolution 2021-115, authorizing the city manager to enter into a construction contract with Global Diving and Salvage Incorporated for the replacement of sacrificial anodes cathodic protection system on the concrete section of the Seward Harbor float system in the amount not to exceed $150,477.80, which includes a 10% contingency and appropriating funds. Resolution 2021-116, authorizing the city manager to spend an amount up to $35,000 for the installation of overhead electric power to the scale house at the City Rock Quarry. Resolution 2021-118, approving amendment number 1 to the contract with Boyd, Chandler, Falconer, and Munson for the provision of basic legal services through August 1st, 2023 for a total of $66,000 annually. Resolution 2021-119, approving amendment number 1 to the contract with R&M Consultants Incorporated for on-call engineering and grant writing services through December 31st, 2024, and appropriating funds in the amount of $25,000. You have approved the September 13th, 2021 City Council special meeting minutes. You have certified the election, the October 5th, 2021 regular municipal election results. There is a non-objection to the renewal of marijuana license number 17758 for the Tufted Puffin LLC. And you have appointed Donna Walker to the Historic Preservation Commission with a term to expire May 2024.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next on the agenda is special awards, presentations, and reports. We have 3 proclamations. We have Mr. CJ, could you each podium? I'm going to go off script a little bit before I read this first one, and just I just want to note, October 6th, 20 years ago, Matthew Shepard was killed, and there are evil people that will use any reason for violence, so we need to stand up and not tolerate hate and brutality. So I just wanted to say his name before I read this proclamation. So whereas National Coming Out Day grew as a result of the 1987 March on Washington for Lesbian and Gay Rights, an event which helped establish lesbian and gay rights as an important issue for everyone, not just those involved in the queer community. And whereas first celebrated in the United States in 1988, National Coming Out Day is also observed in Ireland, Switzerland, the Netherlands, and the United Kingdom. And whereas a foundational belief is that homophobia thrives in an atmosphere of silent shame and ignorance, and that once people know that they have loved ones who are lesbian or gay, they are far less likely to maintain homophobic or oppressive views. And whereas because respect for differences among humans is a defining characteristic of an advanced society, the City of Seward continues to work towards erasing misperceptions and bigotry by heightening awareness and the understanding of the lives and experiences of all our community members. And whereas National Coming Out Day is a public celebration that encourages individuals to recognize and honor the universal ideals of honesty, tolerance, and acceptance. And whereas National Coming Out Day provides an opportunity for LGBTQ people to come out to family and friends and to educate and inform people about the true diversity of the LGBTQ community. And whereas by celebrating this diversity and by establishing a positive dialogue, we can foster an atmosphere of respect, understanding, and goodwill. And whereas the City of Seward is proud to celebrate the National Coming Out Day and to recognize the many contributions that the LGBT community has made throughout the nation, as well as our own community. Now therefore, I, Christy Terry, Mayor of the City of Seward, Alaska, do hereby recognize October 11th as National Coming Out Day and encourage all citizens to support those individuals courageous enough to have already come out and to foster an environment in our community that allows others to find the strength to do the same. Dated this 11th day, October. And I will give you this proclamation and see if you'd like to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Mayor Christie. The Seward Pride Alliance would like to thank the Honorable Mayor Terry and the City Council for recognizing National Coming Out Day. The Seward Pride Alliance's mission is to provide Seward with inclusive resources, education, and outreach that fosters a strong, engaged community of LGBTQ+ individuals and their allies. We also believe that visibility and advocacy saves lives every day. Visibility provides role models, builds community, and highlights the contributions of the LGBTQ+ people in their community. We are honored to accept this proclamation on behalf of all the LGBTQ+ community, but particularly those here in Seward, and our allies who are living examples that Seward is a community where we lift up and celebrate our differences. Thank you.
Next is Seward Wellness Week. Hi, thank you. So you've already kicked off and had some events yesterday, which is very exciting. So whereas the Seward Prevention Coalition formed in 2005 with the overall mission of partnering to promote all dimensions of welfare through education, advocacy, and support, whereas the Seward Prevention Coalition is made up of members of the community who respect other organizations, groups, and establishments within Seward, all with a collaborative attitude towards bettering our community. And whereas the Seward Prevention Coalition works with partners throughout the community to promote and foster wellness for all individuals, and whereas encouraging involvement in healthy activities, touching upon all the various dimensions of wellness, can positively impact overall health and wellness, whereas the Seward Prevention Coalition has planned a variety of events for Wellness Week, taking place October 11th through 17th, to engage the community and promote wellness. Now therefore I, Christy Terry, Mayor of the City of Seward, do hereby proclaim October 11th through 17th as Seward Wellness Week and encourage all citizens to support the work of the Seward Prevention Coalition as they work to make Seward a healthier and happier place to live, work, and play. Thank you, and I'll let you say a few words.
Sure. Thank you guys for this. It's wonderful. Wanted to kick off yesterday. It was really amazing and wonderful events, and I just want to encourage everybody after such a long summer to, take this week to reflect on some, positive self-care and engage in any of our activities that are going on, or find something that's just, brings joy to your heart, that speaks to you, and celebrate yourselves and our, own mental health and wellness this week. So, thank you guys.
Thank you. And now, with another organization that's connected to the Seward Prevention Coalition is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So it's great to have a former council member always engaged with the community, and we have two former council members that's a former and a current coming up, so it's nice to have everyone back. Susie, thank you for being here. And I'll point out council's wearing masks that Susie has distributed. So whereas domestic violence is a serious crime that impacts Alaskans at a higher rate than any other state in the U.S., a 2015 University of Alaska Justice Center found that 48% of Alaskan women have experienced domestic violence at some point in their lives. Whereas domestic violence takes on many forms, including physical abuse or control, financial abuse or control, gaslighting, or emotional abuse. And whereas everyone without regard to age, race, religion, gender, or economic status deserves a safe home. Whereas domestic violence affects children and families and entire communities. Children that grow up in homes where domestic violence takes place can suffer lifelong negative health repercussions, including increased adverse childhood experience scores. Whereas the COVID-19 pandemic increased life stressors for many families, and domestic violence response organizations, both nationally and statewide, experienced an estimated 20% increase in calls for assistance. Whereas Seaview's long-standing DVSA program joined the Seward Prevention Coalition in July 2021 and was renamed Seward Safe Harbor Domestic Violence Sexual Assault Program. Whereas Seward Safe Harbor DSVA program works to help all victims of domestic abuse to regain safety and stability in their lives and heal from the trauma of abuse. Whereas the National Network to End Domestic Violence campaign for October is Everyone Knows Someone, which is particularly meaningful in Alaska where the rates of domestic violence are so high. Whereas it is important to break the silence and end the shame that victims of domestic violence often experience, to recognize the signs of domestic violence and to support those suffering in abusive relationships. Whereas Domestic Violence Awareness Month provides an opportunity for the community to learn about the prevention and safe interventions and to show support for victims. Whereas the City of Seward is committed to working with local and state partners to help end domestic violence in our community, sharing the worthy goal of this month-long observance, sending a loud and clear message to abusers that domestic violence is not tolerated in Seward. Now therefore, I, Christy Terry, Mayor of the City of Seward, Alaska, do hereby proclaim October 2021 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month and encourage all citizens to support and work Seward Safe Harbor DVSA program, to wear purple this month as a symbol of support, and to work together to raise awareness of and put an end to domestic violence in our community. And I will let you say a few words.
Thank you. It was a long proclamation, so I think it said everything that I might say. I want to thank council for the proclamation and thank the clerk's office for working with us to get it together and to bring it before you guys, and encourage everyone to have those hard conversations if you need to, but be as open-minded and understanding as we can towards everybody in our community about what's going on in our lives. And thank you very much.
Next on the agenda is the Borough Assembly report. Following that is the City Manager's report, and that starts on page 7, and I'll turn it over to the City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As you stated, the report's on page 7. One item that I wanted to report on, today you all received the draft budget via your email, and I've given it to the clerk as well. So budget meetings start, work sessions start on Wednesday, so we'll start actually with the council and clerk's budget and then go from there, so Wednesday. Also, there's information regarding the infrastructure bill. At this time, the infrastructure bill has not passed. Chris, our lobbyist, expects perhaps in November there'll be another vote on the lobbyist bill. And hopefully, the infrastructure bill, and hopefully it will pass at that time. And then we'll know what we need to do for infrastructure funding. That's all I have, unless you have questions, comments.
Great, thank you.
It's not a question, but I wanted to give a big thank you and shout out to administration and I guess Parks and Rec Department for getting the Mary Lowell grave marker made and put in. And if you go out to the Woodlawn Cemetery, you'll see it there, and it's just beautiful. It's just like the old one, only it's brand new. So thank you very much to the city for that.
'Any other comments or questions? Great, yeah, very thorough report, those are so helpful, and the good news for the public is those can be found online and they can read through those. And if there's any follow-up, they're welcome to ask questions of either their council members or administration. Next on the agenda is city attorney report, and that begins on page 22. Welcome.
Thank
And
you.
we hooked you in for another year, so.
Glad to be here. It was a fairly quiet week, a month, the last month of legal services. We reviewed a number of the contracts that you've approved this evening for the projects down to Port Harbor. It wasn't a huge job because these are relatively standard construction contracts that I'm not familiar with, but hadn't had the opportunity to review the one that's used most frequently in Seward until this past month. There is a typo in the, let's see, the last paragraph, the second line. I had said titles 15 to 17 had to be completed for the recomplication project, because there's only 16 titles in the code. I think I slipped when I was typing that.
It was a test.
So, but as of today, I just actually finished my portion of that, of phase 1 of that project. So the way that works is that I'm part of the review process, but then that usually generates some questions that I throw back to the city clerk and the various departments to ponder about the code. So that felt good to have that done because it's a lot of words in the code. There's a drainage easement issue that we're looking at, simply trying to formalize an arrangement that I think is going to not have a real problem getting completed in the next month or two. A couple of personnel matters that have pretty much been resolved. They won't be ongoing. A sublease at the port that we looked over and asked them to change a little bit. There was an indemnity provision that I thought had to be improved to better protect the city, and that was done by our tenant who was assigning the lease. So that kind of completes the report. I do have some information. Our building function was delayed in my office for a bit here, but I do have information that came after this report was prepared on legal fees. In July, the total was $8,898, and in August, total fees were $11,870. Under the new arrangement that we just approved, effective November, there'll be a flat monthly fee that's quite a bit less than what those figures were. But there'll also possibly be add-ons for unexpected type things that you just can't predict. So that sums up my report. I can take any questions.
Are there any questions from the city? And it's great to have you at this meeting today, sir. Any questions? Vice Mayor?
I do really appreciate all the updates on the codification, because as you do know, that is on the clerk's goals. So hearing what everything's going along with that helps us to make those decisions at the end on how long things are taking. So the updates on your report are helpful to see how the process is going along.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's on my goals too, I think. It's a major deal. I mean, it just is, and so it takes a while. But, and it's the thing about a project like that is because it's not like a crisis or an immediate thing that you have to respond to make something happen. It can fall through the cracks, you know. And I'm trying not to have that happen. And I'm sure Brenda will be whipping people into shape to get everything done.
Are there any other questions or comments? Great, another very thorough report in our packet. Thank you for that. There are no other reports or announcements. There are no presentations, no public hearings, no unfinished business. Next on the agenda is new business item resolution 2021-117. Madam Clerk, if you could read that title into the minutes.
Resolution 2021-117 is authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with LTAS Technologies Incorporated for short-term rental registration and compliance services through December 31st, 2024, for a total of $66,500 annually and appropriating funds.
And we're looking for a motion in a second.
I move for the approval of resolution 2021-117.
I second it.
And that's beginning on page 42, and I'll turn it over to administration.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple of items to note, that this Hamari was implemented in 2018. The city began using it, and it is used in the Community Development Department. In 2018, $4,000 was paid for the implementation, and then another $4,000 paid in 2020. This expands the work to also be able to use a platform for transmitting permits and documents electronically as well. And the total then goes up to $6,500 annually for 21, 22, 23.
And Councilmember Cascarani, you asked for this to be off the consent agenda. Did you want to start with questions?
I actually called administration before the meeting and asked most of my questions, and I don't have them wrote down. I felt like I had good answers, so
Okay.
sorry if they were questions that would help everybody else. I personally have had some concern that short-term lodging gets very special attention when it comes to permitting and fees and all the above. There's a lot of other industries in our city. There's fishing charters that I'm sure there's plenty of them down in the harbor that are probably operating without all the proper licensing. And, you know, the list goes on of other industries. I really appreciate that this software has the capacity to streamline the permitting process, but I'm not fully aware of to what capacity it does streamline. Also, a big concern that I keep on hearing when it comes to short-term lodging is that we don't have a compliance officer. And with how small Seward is and how intimate our neighborhoods are, people call each other out. I mean, I don't really see the need for us to have to intensify our compliance when if you're operating illegally, your neighbors are going to go down to community development and say something, especially if it has something to do with the traffic or disruptions, noise complaints. I did go on the website for this particular software and, you know, was reading some of the testimonies of other communities. One of the testimonies I read were, you know, there was a whole bunch of domestic violence and drugs being used, but once our community got this software and was able to pinpoint where these Airbnbs were taking place, we got it all under control. And I don't think that our nightly accommodations are being used ill, that they're that much out of control. I think we have a bigger issue. I think our bigger issue is that we have no affordable long-term housing. And I would really like to see all of our money and energy spent on doing whatever it takes to find developers that want to come in here and start opening up big chunks of land.
Any questions or comments? I do have a question, for administration. So the way I read this is we're not binding future councils because what will happen in future years is that'll just be part of the budget discussion, so it'll be included. So future councils could give 30 days notice and take that out of the budget.
That is correct.
If administration says it's no longer working for us.
That is correct, yes.
I'm sorry, were you raising your hand?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Just a couple of questions. So do we know if in 2020 we paid the additional $4,000 to implement the online permitting, why we're not doing that yet?
I'm sorry, I really cannot answer that question.
But we have the capability right now to do it?
What I understand about this is that this adds to the capability that, what I understand, it wasn't fully implementable in 2020, and that this adds to the capability to make it fully, that it can be fully implemented. It's also supposed to be so that the documents can be uploaded from the user to the department as well, and that could not be done before, is what I understand.
And then do we know, is it okay?
Go ahead.
Do we know if, I guess, how is it expected to make enforcement easier? Do we know?
I believe that, and part of that is, so the way that it works is that this product, they call it crawls websites and crawls other listing locations, so that if there was, I'm gonna say a B&B operating that doesn't have a license, it would, it finds it, because most of the B&Bs are, you know, advertised online, so it finds the advertisement and then notifies the city of it. So that's how they report back to the city of any unlicensed organization.
I think that is all I have. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Part of the concern that I had with this was that from a long time ago when the information was brought up, first of all, it gave all the information to one person in administration. And then when council was asking who has that information and who has right to that information, was basically kind of weaponized that information, and I didn't think that that was right. Also, I don't think that it's right that we're going after only one industry, and that if you were trying to find compliance, that compliance would be sought throughout all of the businesses and all of the licenses that we approve and that we have. In that sense, that's why I didn't agree with this from a long time ago. I know I did ask you very last minute on some of the questions, and I don't think it was fair at all, but some of the information that I would have been helpful would have been what was the differences in the permits that we've seen in 2019 and 2020 from when we had compliance issues for people not signing up B&Bs of a number that was just presented to us, which we could not see the factual information because that factual information is private. So we're presented with a number that says this is how many B&Bs are operating illegally or partially illegally or not doing things toward life and safety or whatever it was. So those were I kind of had a little bit of thought, like how many more were we getting people to, you know, it's almost like I think when you would look at law enforcement, right? And every law enforcement example is lead by education, right? It's not lead by the gun. So are we leading by the gun or are we leading by education by just saying we're trying to make the processes simpler and easier, so this is one part of it, trying to make it easier, but at the same time having that enforcement piece. And then we know from history, how then do we enforce it? And how much does it cost us to enforce something when we really want to enforce something and then have to spend legal representation to enforce that? So is it worth it, is what I'm asking. And in my mind, from the information that's presented, cost of legal representation to go after somebody right now, because we don't have compliance officers or compliance structure that's set up, it's not worth it to me. So I will not be supporting this resolution.
That was my concern all along, is because I can't say how many times I've asked the question as to how many people have you found that were illegal and aren't permitted and aren't paying sales tax, and I could never get an answer.
Well, I guess the hard part is that we don't have someone in that community development director seat. So at this point, sounds like there's lots of questions. We'll see if I get any traction, but I'll move to postpone until the next meeting if there's questions. And I'll look for a second.
I'll second that.
And I don't disagree with any of the points being brought up. I would be interested to see what the delta was and how successful it is, and if there's another component where I like doing everything online, so if this is allowing things to be done online, that seems a lot simpler to me and easier for those businesses. But we'll see what happens at the next meeting, but it would just be interested to maybe get more data on how successful the program is. Is there any discussions on the proposal?
Oh, well, I was just gonna say, this was brought up, and I know this is, you've already made the...
Yeah, so this, sorry, your discussion has
Well,
to be to the, yeah,
okay, never mind then.
Sorry. Go ahead.
On the postponement, if administration, I like to have numbers. I didn't even think of that today when I was asking my question. I think a lot of the numbers stuck in my head that when we first got the software, we were told there were 250 to 280 people operating, and there were only 88 business licenses, I think. And I personally received, I think I received 9 letters for my 4 operations when they sent out all those letters. There was a lot of overlap. I received a letter for my house that I have never rented a day in my life for a nightly rental with the owner's name from a place that I do manage for my personal address. There was just some really crazy crisscross stuff going on in my letters that I received. And I think I did follow up, and I don't think that there were any more business licenses that following year. But it would be nice to get that from administration, so thank you.
Did you have your hand raised, Mary? Okay. So we'll vote on the postponement.
Voting on the motion to postpone this resolution to October 25th. McClure,
Yes.
Casagrande,
Yes.
Demas,
Yes.
Cease,
Yes.
Olsanga,
Yes.
Bachlan,
Yes.
Mayor Terry.
Yes.
That motion is approved.
Next on the agenda is informational items and reports. There are none. And we are at citizen comments. So there's no sign-in. Did I skip something? No?
Oh,
Okay.
Cheryl. that's-
There's no sign-in for this comment period. Time is limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Would you like to speak? Yeah. Yes, please. Thank you.
I have to read because I get too nervous.
Yeah. Welcome, Cheryl.
Thank you. I'm Cheryl Cease, 319 Belaine Boulevard, and I'm the chair of the Seward Historic Preservation Commission. To the Honorable Mayor Terry and council members, I'm reading this to you on behalf of the Seward Historic Preservation Commission with a request that has been previously made by many other people. Even so, it is important enough to implore you, I get nervous just reading. Implore you to reconsider your decision. I do not want to belabor this issue. However, as Seward continues, as does the rest of the world, to struggle with COVID, protective measures should be reinstated within reason. While many, many negative results happened as a result of COVID-19, there were also some positives. One of those was the introduction and use of technology via Zoom, and that was a great positive. I know that our code and bylaws state that meetings be attended in person for voting to count, but I believe we need to amend and update this requirement. Beyond the physical advantages for vulnerable people, the convenience of Zoom should not be overlooked. Many companies are moving their workers to working Zoom full-time or other types of this technology. Volunteers, as you all know, are hard to come by and need to be given the ease and convenience of attending meetings. Like each of you, the Seward Historic Preservation Commission is made up of very busy people. I do not think that everyone needs to attend via Zoom, and I do think that there should be a mandatory in-person attendance requirement on an annual basis in some number. As chair of the Seward Historic Preservation Commission, I gladly commit to attending our meetings in person, and I'm sure as other commissioners will too, off and on. And this would be for the sake of the public. This way the public can attend the meetings in person, but commissioners that cannot can still attend, vote, and be a part of the meeting. I'm not sure why the decision was made to put an end to the Zoom meetings unless it was simply to follow existing code. Is it because of the IT expense, the extra personnel required? And if so, are the additional hours that would take increase the cost to the city beyond their means? Surely there must be a workaround to accommodate this request. I sincerely appreciate your reconsideration of allowing Zoom meetings to occur. Most respectfully, me, Chair Cease. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Yes?
Linda Paquette, outside city limits. I wasn't planning on speaking, but I wanted to follow up because I would second that request. And it's curious to me, if you look at the different municipalities around the state, how some of them have reverted back to more traditional conducting of meetings, and others have stayed and embraced this the altered way of allowing people to call in or allowing people to Zoom in. And specifically the Kenai Borough has not gone back to the old way. And so for the city of Seward, the distance issue is not so much, doesn't come into it so much. But there are other issues, like people who would like to attend but don't feel comfortable because of COVID. And I would just encourage us to, I think when you embrace technology and then you put technology away, it disenfranchises the people that have then become engaged. So I would just encourage, if there's a way to move forward with the technology and broaden the ability for people to participate. I know for PACAD, we're a little crippled because we're short-seated and we have people that are going to be out of state. And so Carl called in for the work session, but it was a work session. Whereas when we have a meeting, he can't call in. And so, it becomes hard to make quorum then. So those are my thoughts. Then the other thing I just wanted to remind everybody of is that we do have 2 open seats on PACAD. You don't have to live inside the city limits to sit on this board. It's a great board. We take up a lot of interesting things like climate action, change, and electrical issues. So, and building commerce. So we meet at noon on Wednesdays, twice a month, one for a meeting and one for a work session. And we hiatus in the summer. So I know a lot of people, they're like, I don't want to sit on the board because I'm too busy in the summer. We accommodate that. So please, get your application into Brenda. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Yes, sir. State your name, please, and inside or outside city limits.
Norman Regis, outside of city limits, calling about the Harbor Master and the thing that Councilman Casagrande said about charter boats. So we do have some charter boats that don't do anything, but the charter fleet pretty much lets us know, and we go down there and we meet them and say, hey, you got all this paperwork. We've been complying. We have some trouble in August during Salmon Derby. People from the Nochipinkiski come over, but we get them. So just let you know, nobody's slipping on. If they do, then they're really, really sneaky. But we do everything we can to catch everybody.
Thank you, sir. Good update. Anyone else wishing to speak? Hearing and seeing none, next on the agenda is response to administration comments and council administration comments in response to citizen comments, and I'll start off with administration.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, first of all, for the discussion on the Hamari LTAS contract. I appreciate that, and we'll get the answers for the next meeting, and please let me know if you have anything further with that as well. And I wanted to thank Councilmember Cease for her service, and it's been nice getting to know you. Thank you. Congratulations to Councilmember Osenga and to Mr. Cahoon. And just thank you. That's all I have this evening.
I'll start off with Councilmember Demas.
Okay, I would like to also say congratulations to Councilmember Osenga and our new Councilmember Calhoun, and to everyone that ran in the election. I thought it was just a great group of people, and I loved that there was someone super young running again. I thought Leighton did a really great job speaking, and just so well spoken for such a young person. And I thought Randy Wells did such a great job with his campaign, and it was just so fun to see everybody run such a great campaign and have so much interest. And I also wanted to thank administration. I know you guys have been working really hard with community development and planning and zoning to try and cover some of those voids right now in personnel. So I think that you guys are just doing a great job, and I appreciate all the work. And I also wanted to say congratulations to Cindy Eklund, our new borough rep. I think that she's going to represent Seward fantastically, so I'm excited about that. And thank you so much, Cheryl Cease, for your service and for all your support when I was trying to get on council, and we're going to miss you. Thank you.
Councilmember Casagrande? I think the main thing is it looks like there's a group of younger people here. And I just wanted to let you guys know that meetings don't always go this short and this quick. So you guys came to the perfect meeting. And I'm just really grateful for this whole group of people. It's so nice to be sitting here and all working together, and to be able to get business done. For administration for bringing us packets that are well organized and being so open to answering questions and not taking any questions personal is a really great discovery to be able to witness. So thank you.
Councilmember Osenga?
I'd like to say thank you to Leighton and Randy for stepping up and running in this year's election. Thank you to everyone who participated and voted. Congratulations to Michael. And thank you, Cheryl, for your services. It's been a pleasure serving with you.
And with that, Councilmember Cease.
You really want me to say, first off, I have to say there's some fudge up here. Help yourself. I asked BG to make sure I had fudge for tonight because I'm leaving. And on my chair here, not but it's been a pleasure being on the council. That 464 pages, the last meeting wasn't as pretty as one is tonight. But I've enjoyed it, and I want to congratulate Mike for being on, and also John for upping again. And it's been a real pleasure, and I love seeing the young faces back here. And I thought maybe you were going to get an award or a proclamation or something, and you just all sat there and smiled. It was very nice. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, it's what they all said. Congratulations to John and Mike, and thanks to those others that ran. And we did fill a couple of borough seats, like the Flood Board seat. They were uncontested again. And I know when I was on the assembly, it came up several times that those should just be appointed because there's hardly ever any election there, but that was shot down because I guess I was one of the ones that felt that people should have a voice and have a chance to vote. So I want to thank everybody who came out and voted too. As I understand it, I haven't seen final borough results. They were working on the canvassing today. There were some 1,500 overall absentees, but that will be certified tomorrow, so we'll find out. But I'm assuming congratulations to Cindy Eklund. That was the proviso there. As I said before, the Mary Lowell headstone replacement was a long time coming, and a lot of people here are very grateful for that, and I suggest you go out and take a look at it. We had a tour on the 2nd, of the Woodlawn Cemetery, Lee Pileski and I, and Liberty was, organizing these tours. It was very successful, very well received. If you haven't been on a cemetery tour, you haven't lived, so that's what I say. We have 2 more. I understand they're probably sold out, but if somebody just were to peek in there, I don't think we would send anyone away. This Saturday and then on the 30th at 5, the same tour. We're not going to do different ones, but the same one we did 2 weeks ago. Anyway, and also, one more thing. Oh, happy Indigenous Peoples Day. We're one of the states that honors this Monday as Indigenous Peoples Day, and I think that's really, really a good thing. And I guess that's all I got.
Vice Mayor?
First, I'd like to thank administration for Resolution 2021-119. I think that was a long time coming, and something that people, the public and the council had asked for a long time for some solution to help get our department heads some grant writing services so that we could make our time and our money effective in this community. It's sometimes we go to AML and different things, and you see, like, wow, you guys got all these projects going on, and it's like, oh yeah, we wrote these grants, and you're like, wow, you know, and hopefully we can get moving on and get some really cool things going on. I, like Cheryl, need to write stuff down because I get nervous when I speak. It is with the utmost sorrow that I tender my resignation from the Seward City Council this evening. This decision did not come lightly, and I gave it many weeks of thought. I have accepted a new job that will, on one hand, will allow me to live and work in the beautiful city that I love, Seward. However, on the other hand, it will require much more of my time due to travel and educating myself on this new position. This will not give me or the constituents the adequate amount of time to be available for meetings and the many auxiliary meetings and functions we all participate in. This is not goodbye. I will still try and be present in meetings as much as I can, to provide testimony and advice, to participate in work sessions, and to use the knowledge that the people invested in me with their votes. The last 2 years have been an amazing experience, humbling and rewarding. I would like to thank each and every one of you council members that I sit with for your hard work. And I know the true sacrifice that all of you make to be here, and I appreciate that. So this will be my last meeting, but I will still try and be here as much as possible. But thank you for the time that I've been able to be here, and thank you for having an amazing time on council. I think before I got here, I expected it to be something else, and it came out to be something very beautiful. So I appreciate the time to be here. So there will be an appointment coming up, and I encourage the people who did not make the election to come back forward and step up and apply for the appointment for my seat, which will be a 1-year seat, which will be a little nicer. And they can test it out and see if they want to run again after that next election. So, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Well, you will be missed, and you'll have to come back one more time to get your plaque. So we will sing your praises at that point. I'll just follow up with the clerk, just because I believe at the next meeting we'll accept written resignation, and then we'll advertise.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I do need it in writing.
And then if there's no objections from council, we'll advertise for selecting an appointment. Is that correct, ma'am?
Yes.
Well, I know that was a tough announcement to make, but we wish you well, for sure. I want to say thank you to Councilmember Cease for her service. Just a valuable voice on council, and appreciate all your time. Congratulations to upcoming Councilmember Calhoun, who's already done it at least once, maybe twice, I'm not sure. But he's willing to be in there again. And then Councilmember Osenga, thank you for being willing to serve. And for both Mr. Wells, who has attended meetings and watched online in preparation, and also Leighton Radner. Again, it's nice to have someone in their 20s running. And congratulations to Alaska Waste. We appreciate their service to the community, and we look forward to further service from them. And yes, just in anticipation of the votes, continuing with vote day, congratulations to Cindy Eklund, and thank you to Ken Carpenter for his years of service. Welcome to Donna Walker for historic preservation, and also Bob White on the flood board. I want to note for the community that there are 2 budget meetings this week. I'll just do this week's, Wednesday and Thursday, and they both start at 6 o'clock. And so those can be found on YouTube. We do have meetings open to the public. People can come into council chambers. There's also a Facebook channel that has them in 91.7. Did I get the call numbers right? 91.7 is the radio that always has both our meetings and our work sessions. And actually, information will be published online on the website for folks to review. Halloween events coming up. There is a carnival at the cruise ship terminal on October 30th, so that's the Saturday. October 30th from 1 to 4. And then Trunk or Treat is being held at the Seward Resort. That was a great event that they started last year. That's also on the 30th at 5 o'clock. And then my final comments are just happy Indigenous People Day. That was a good call out. And Seward was built on Supiaq people land. So we're thankful for the rich history that our community has in that. And with that, I will adjourn the meeting. I thought people were telling me I was skipping, so